Same thing is looking over for Obama. What you're about to see connects dots they've prayed you never connect. Let's start here.
And in terms of fleshing out that factual record about what actually happened, including what happened with the Russian attack in 2016, right. I wondered, as you read the Mueller report, the parts of it, at least that we can read, did you learn new things about what happened to you and your campaign in 2016 that you didn't know before reading it?
I learned more, and I learned more detail.
Okay.
But here's the important thing to me. What I learned is that the Russians were successful. I don't think there's any way to read that report and not conclude they accomplished what they set out to do. They had an objective to sow discord and divisiveness within our society at large and to help Donald Trump, and they succeeded.
And in terms of fleshing out
now, this is the woman who set the tone for years of political theater, Hillary Clinton. Y'all hear that framing? By the way, this was in 2019 with a sit down with Rachel Maddow. But y'all heard the framing of it. Not if Russia interfered, but how. That language shaped every news cycle. And a bigger truth, even their own reports couldn't prove the collusion narrative. Yet, the media repeated it until it became the gospel. This is how you condition a nation, not with facts. You do that with repetition. And unfortunately, while Hillary was selling the script, what I'm about to show you next takes the same narrative and drags it into territory even her defenders won't touch. Brace yourself for this now. This is for educational purposes only.
Hey, what's up, folks? Tulsi Gabbard breaks news. Wow. DNI Tulsi Gabbard confirms former President Obama authorized assassination attempt on Trump. Washington, D.C., July 21st, 2025, in what may become the most explosive revelation in U.S. political history, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard announced that declassified intelligence files directly implicate former President Barack Obama in authorizing a covert assassination attempt on then President-elect Donald Trump. The files, set to be publicly released, detail a sprawling top-secret program initiated in the final 30 days of Obama's presidency with explicit goal of preventing Trump from ever taking office. Operation Silence was not just surveillance. It was an organized multi-agency plot to eliminate the president-elect, Gabbard said during an emergency intelligence briefing. The documents outline everything from recruitment of black ops teams to manipulation of communications to the final phase of physical removal. According to sources close to the investigation, a failed attempt on Trump's life was thwarted only days before the inauguration thanks to an anonymous whistleblower inside the National Security Command Center. Redacted transcripts reveal that Obama, under the pretense of national security, convened an off-the-books task force of senior intelligence officials and military advisors at Camp David. In late December, one document marked Eyes Only 44 reads, "The threat Trump poses to institutional stability instability cannot be overstated. Removal, if necessary, is justified." While Obama has not commented publicly, legal teams are reportedly mobilizing behind the scenes as the files prepare to go public. The country teeters on the edge of political reckoning, and the question now isn't whether there was a plot, but how far it went and who else was involved. Folks, this is getting real. Got to think about this as this transpires, as this progresses, which I told you Obama will be arrested. They're all going to be arrested. Gavin, all of them are going to be arrested. You got to think who's going to be activated. The illegal immigrants. That's who's going to be activated. Also, BLM, Antifa, the whole thing is going to get wild when this picks up. So I'm going on ninoscorner.tv right now to talk with Wano Savin about this. It's half off right now on ninoscorner.tv. Half off monthlies, half off yearlies. Get over there. I'm only doing this for a limited time. Lieutenant Douglas Deaton is up right now talking about the Sharia law takeover, the Muslim communities in America, how he specifically is talking about Plano, Texas, and how it's just taking over all of America now, how they're all linked. Great in-person podcast. Spaco or Spizo, go fuck yourself. Other than that, all of you take care. I'll see you all later at ninoscorner.tv. Spizo. All right, later, folks.
Oh, that's a claim so serious it demands investigation, no matter where you stand politically. If it's true. Now, I'm gonna be completely honest. I'm sitting back and I'm still with the raised eyebrow just a little bit, but we're gonna keep it YouTube safe here. So let's be clear. Claims like this are allegations until proven. But here's the undeniable part. Year after year, declassified material has revealed more about off the book meetings, unaccountable intel networks, and power being used in ways that the public never voted for. Even this specific claim never sees if this never sees a courtroom, it exposes a bigger truth. When the system sees a threat, it moves behind closed doors, not in front of the cameras. And that leads us directly to someone who's actually in position to dig and is willing to name names. Tulsi Gabbard, now running Intel. This isn't pulling up punches, man.
Now, Director, you said there was irrefutable evidence that Obama was the mastermind of this intelligence manipulation and the perpetuation of the Russia hoax. What is that irrefutable evidence for our viewers tonight?
Yeah, Laura, as you were playing those clips of these people like Morning Joe seemingly befuddled, saying that by no account is any of this true, I would challenge them to see if they've actually read the documents, every single page of the documents that we've released over the last couple of weeks. If not, go to odni.gov, It's all right there for anyone to see. And those who go in and read this will see how President Obama directed that a National Security Council meeting be called to talk about Russia, that the report that came out of that meeting was filled with tasks that were delivered by James Clapper's assistant to John Brennan and to other elements of the intelligence community. John Brennan was the head of the CIA at the time, all saying per the president's direction, per the president's order. And very specifically, they were tasked to create an intelligence assessment that detailed how Moscow tried to influence the election, not if, but how. And this was the beginning of this manufactured intelligence assessment where they knowingly wrote things in this assessment that were false, and they knew they were false. They knew that they were basing it on discredited intelligence or documents like the Steele dossier that was politically motivated and that they knew was false. And this was how they came up with the Russia hoax that was then weaponized and used to try to delegitimize the president, President Trump, and to try to ultimately enact this years-long coup throughout his entire 4 years of his first administration.
And they further say that there's like this idea of saying that Obama.
When you hear per the president's direction, it's in official records. That's not speculation. That's documented chain of command. Whether you like it or not, Tulsi's pointing to the paper trail that ties to early days of Russiagate back to the top, right back to it. And ask yourself, if everything was above board, why use discredited sources like the Steele dossier to push the case? That's not intelligence gathering, that's political engineering, man. But here's where the story explodes beyond politics into raw money flow, okay? Arizona's Mark Finchman is digging into something that should make every voter left, right, or center stop in their tracks.
So we have this architecture that when you buy a house, generally it goes into escrow. You have a title company that handles the escrow, and there are a number of documents that go into it. So just at a broad scale, let's imagine you buy a house. Grant Stinchfield buys a house for $200,000, and it's funded by one of the North American banks. We'll just say Wells Fargo. Please don't sue me. All the records, including the mortgage, the deed of trust, the Alta insurance policy, all of those records are recorded in the county record. Then just a few minutes later, your $200,000 house suddenly has a $200 million magic mortgage that comes through. It's nothing but a wire that goes through the title company. There's no lender involved because it's a hard money loan, what they call a cash hard money loan. But because it goes through a title company, there's no notation of who the lender is. And it goes on through the system. Now, what's interesting is, and this is what caught our attention, these are ActBlue officers, corporate officers. Once we found one, it led to another and another and another and another. So we have them all over the nation. And this is just one small fragment of the human map. You leave this digital dust, if you will. This is one small fragment.
You have all of these gigantic financial transactions. Now the question becomes, how do they funnel that back into the campaigns? Is that the small dollar donations that we see that show up at some lady's house and she's donated to Act Blue 52 times and she knows nothing about it?
Well, that's just one small aspect of it. So James O'Keefe, got to give that guy credit with the whole smurfing piece that he's done. And we got to be careful about what we're calling this. This is a research project because we're not licensed investigators. We want to make sure that people understand that this money is going into organizations that this architecture was set up by Barack Obama to spread cash around the country and to put money into political action committees, into non-government organizations, to fund candidates, to set up the whole architecture for a public relations machine, read basically propaganda machine, to promote the whole concept that we're a team. We've got great funding. It's all behind us. So here in Arizona, for example, the Arizona Democrat Party, not more than about 5 weeks ago, it replaced their chairman because their fundraising is 25% of what it was last year. Well, where did all the donors go? So what we're talking about here, Grant, is wholesale fraud, where the money is distributed by Act Blue officers. And now, because we're not federal law enforcement, we don't know exactly where it went. But that's why we've turned it over to U.S. attorneys.
And that brings me to the real news, I guess, is that you have handed this over to the Department of Justice. What has been their response of taking the evidence? We'll call it evidence because, nothing's been proven yet. I'd like to get Act Blue's response on all of this. But you turn over this evidence to DOJ. What do they say to you?
We are now engaged in conversations with a number of U.S. attorneys, former U.S. attorneys, lawyers who are not yet confirmed U.S. attorneys. So there is great interest. I've got to believe that Attorney General Pam Bondi has forwarded this out to the folks that are the financial crimes folks. And by the way, it wasn't just the AG. We also sent it to the IRS Criminal Division and to the FBI. So Director Patel also has this.
I mean, if if even half of what's alleged here holds up, you're looking at a system that could quietly funnel billions without a single average voter knowing. And think about the time. And sudden fundraising drops in key states, donations nobody remembers making. Y'all know we covered a lot of those videos on this channel. All while the same organizations keep the lights on in campaigns. That's not grassroots. That's not, y'all. That's what we call manufactured influence. That's all they doing right now. That's all that and if you care about election integrity, you have to care about this. Same thing. The pattern is clear. Woo, that's a reflex, y'all, over here going crazy. But the pattern of recycled narratives and uncontrollable, unaccountable behavior. Intelligence, turned into some sort of political tool. But this isn't about party loyalty, man. It's about a machine that believes in its own game. They actually do. They count on you, forgetting. Well, not forgetting, rather. They count on you to believe that you're not seeing what you're seeing, basically. If y'all haven't already, follow me on these platforms up here. We have Rumble, we have X. Y'all definitely know where the truth can't get censored over there. Shout out to Team Think already, but we got to give some more shout outs to the 4X Club real quick. Shout out to Texas Gal 1, also Texas Daughter. Okay. Texas is in the building. Just Be For Real. External Soul. Let me see. Who else we got, y'all? Charlie Gandy 9605. John Thompson 3360 and Pat 34 Lee. I truly appreciate y'all for making this channel what it is. Be safe. Please go check on a friend today. You can quite literally be saving their life. Peace.